It is the news that we have been waiting for 23 months, the last time we had more than an inch of rain. Dustups last week received 2.82 inches in a 30-minute period, and the overwhelming brunt of it came in just 10 minutes. Gigantic deluge. Brandon said it was raining sideways in buckets, the largest raindrops he's ever seen. I have a ton of rain footage, and what we're gonna do in this episode is I'm gonna show you dirt bathtubs, terraces, dams, and check dams. And then next week we'll go through the beaver dam analogs and how those performed. I don't even want to keep you in suspense. Everything did amazing, but don't take my word for it. Let me show you.
Well, it could still be raining up there. I gotta get out of here stat. It seems like the flow is picking up. They work. Sweet. Wow, they're all nice and soaking.
Now that you watched Brandon get to splash in the dirt bathtubs, I feel like the name is so fitting now. Let's take a look and see how they performed. I'm starting from the east end. I'm starting by the fill pile. It's this big mound right here. So these are the dirt bathtubs that by far got the most water. And as I meander towards the bottom of the hill, we'll start seeing more and more germinations, I expect. I haven't actually walked over here yet. But this is exciting to see. So you can see that one, and that one, and that one, that one, that one, and that one. So life is springing up. It just needed water, and we've had 2 years of birds pooping and all the other wildlife bringing seeds from everywhere. So these dirt bathtubs should have a seed bank in them. I mean, that's pretty much the best thing you can ask for. As you do the work once, the seed bank shows up. And then this is definitely the least amount of effort, just to let nature, but give it a little kickstart one time. One question I get all the time, I am pretty sure it happens on every video, and if you want to be a smart aleck, ask on this video. Hey Shaun, have you tried digging half moons? Yeah, I have. We've got 2.4 acres of them. But we're just getting some experience with different techniques, because there's things you learn just by doing. So like, well, one, not every spot is a good spot. The caliche was so hard when we dug here, we couldn't dig all of the dirt bathtubs. This used to be so much deeper. This one got buried. I tried putting shade cloth on the ground to grow some seeds, but what happened is water flew or sheeted from up here and then right into this dirt bathtub, so it deposited just tons and tons of material. This gives you an idea for how the seed bank works, is I can see some seeds. So those red flowers right there, those red seeds are ocotillo. So that tells me exactly what happened is the water sheets across the landscape, picks up seeds, birds poop in different places, those seeds get carried in the water, and where the water pools, you have a lot more seeds. I strongly suspect This episode will mainly be for people that have been following Dustups for probably a long time. So if it gets boring walking around looking at dirt bathtubs, let me know. But I think most of you are going to be pretty pumped to not get short clips, but to actually see how these things work. And I'm going to try to show you as much of this tour as possible with minimal editing, just so I feel like it's a better reflection of how things work instead of just cherry picking the best case scenario. I don't want to represent like every dirt bathtub has life in it. You can see it's even benefiting some of the stuff from outside. That ephedra there hopefully will catch some breath. The creosote's green. There's some grandma grass right there that's starting to green up. And you can see it's sending out new shoots. New creosote growing in the dirt bathtub. There's one thing I've learned from being out here is that you do not get equal amounts of rain, even if you're only a couple hundred yards away. And generally, this hillside, which is outside the main watershed where I'm working, I'll show it to you on the drone, but for whatever reason, both times it's rained, this side gets more rain than the other side. And the rain gauge that I use to quote you the quantity of rainfall is at camp. And camp is to the south that way, about a quarter mile. So I can't tell you in all of these specific spots exactly how much rain fell, other than a lot and really fast. And the best measurement I have was a quarter mile from here. And you know, one thing I've noticed from operating the dozer and the mini excavator in this case is sometimes when we partially bury plants, they actually seem to do better. Like it forces their root system deeper. Got a little leftover millipede. He's looking for all that dead stuff. He's out here to help us break down what little organic matter there is. More seeds in there. All ocotillo. So easy to see because they're bright red flowers. Let's see how many of them there are here. And those are seeds. Certainly look like seeds to me. Wow, look at all the millipedes. They've really been out today. This is probably the fourth or fifth one. There's one there. Another little guy right there. So, I don't know enough about them, but they are out in force. They're not hard to spot right now. So you can see some of them get too much water and some of them not enough. It looks like we'll have to make a little mini project and build check dams here so that we have designated spillways now that we know how these particular bathtubs operate. And look at that mix of finer, more water holding material, silt and clay, and then you got all that organic litter in there. It's exactly what we want, is over a very long period of time, it's just gonna build a soil for us. Ow. I wonder why it was hard to dig here. This one's got quite a bit of life going. Good little creosote going there. He clearly had a head start. And that takes us to the top of the hill. So, cactus is looking way more green. Dirt bathtubs have a little something going in on them. Hopefully we get these back in action a couple more times this year. Now, let's check the other side of the hill. So, obviously as you get closer to the top of the hill, less and less likely for it to be full of water. Although I can see this had a little water path right there. And you can see where it filled up. You can actually see where it exited. That's kind of cool. Look, it filled up here, and then it spilled right here. And you can see a little water path right into here. And so it's pretty hard without using laser grading equipment. And since these things are low stakes, I mean, they're literally holes in the ground. It's not really worth grading each individual one. It's faster just to dig and move on. Summer's here, and with it comes a surge in activity. Whether you're going for a morning run, going to the beach, or wandering the middle of the desert looking at dirt bathtubs, it's nice to be comfy. Fabletics' June collection is designed to keep up with every move. Their latest style features higher hems and cooler fabrics, which, as it's 100 degrees as we speak, is perfect for the rising temperatures. The vibrant hues, the shorts, the shirts, they look great, but I feel like they capture a little bit of the summer essence. They look good. What I really appreciate is the versatility. I can chillax at camp and work on little projects assembling tools, or wander around checking out dirt bathtubs and feel really good. I can feel the moisture that I'm sweating profusely, but it's just flying off me because of the fabric. If you're looking to update your summer wardrobe with stylish but functional activewear, Fabletics is your choice. They're offering great deals, especially for new VIP members. Go to fabletics.com/dustups to check out the June collection. Thank you for supporting my sponsors like Fabletics. Without my sponsors, this project, these dirt bathtubs, the growth that is happening in them, it is not happening without your support of my sponsors. Thank you to Fabletics. Please go check them out, get yourself some stylish, functional activewear, and let's keep the tour going. Okay, now we're entering a different watershed, and what I want to show you on the drone is that bowl shape over there. You can see facing the mountains. Here's the mountains, but when you were on the drone, you were looking something like this. So that gives you some context where I am. If you watched the footage, you saw a white bucket in the middle. That white bucket is there, so it gives you some context to where we are. This is all facing to the east, which is much more intense. You get the worst kind of sunlight, evening sun, so it's much more difficult for the plants to thrive. But look at this. I caught tons of flack for laying cactus on their side. Definitely not the way to do it. It's not ideal. The ones that I laid flat and that have been buried by flowing water bringing sediment are now producing cactus pads. So it's not all a total waste. And we have a little volunteer. This is worth updating you too. You see all these cactus pads in the ground? This actually reflects our lesson. So one of Brandon's projects right now is we're building a living fence out of prickly pear. If you'd like to see that as an episode, we'll show you how we're doing it. But he should be pretty close to the bottom of the hill where he's done this. Let's get back to dirt bathtubs. This looks really interesting. It's a cat claw acacia, I believe. No, that's a whitethorn acacia. I need to prune that. Get all those stems cut back so this thing just keeps growing up and up. We want nice and tall. So happy to see a tree. A very, very modest tree, but we're gonna help it go up. And I'll walk this way along the side of the hill towards the dams. I haven't been over here in quite a while. Another volunteer, or another pad coming up. We got a nice volunteer established there. You know, for baking in the sun for nearly 2 years, those pads are pretty green. We got a volunteer in this one. And what I'm noticing so far, oh hey, look, brand new pad, just starting to go. That's so cool. And then we have this little guy trying to grow next to it. More pads on this side. So although the success rate is very low, we did so many that they're actually working in spite of our ignorance, which I'm totally okay with, because you know, might be D for knowledge, but A for effort. Man, I got something in my sandal. If you walk around in squishy sandals out here, these are from the devil. These are little pieces of ocotillo bark that have ripped off, and if you make the mistake of stepping on it like this with your shoe, it gets through the squishy part, so every step you just get a nice little poke. We'll add some organic material to a bathtub. Really healthy looking creosote. That is a really green cactus, which is great. And that's the species I really like. Those white thorns, they set really nice fruit. It's quite a bit bigger than all those brown ones that you see, which is New Mexico prickly pear. I haven't identified the species there, but I just recognize it from the white thorns. And 2 years ago, before we tried propagating it everywhere, it set just fantastic fruit. What I'm also noticing is there doesn't seem to be nearly as much sediment on this side of the hill compared to the other side. I wish when Brady brought all the hackberry out here that I had known about syntropic approaches and how to mulch that better. I was thinking that would provide shade, but if I was going to do that again, I would break all that material up and pack it down and make actual contact with the dirt to help break it down, start some soil life. So this is grass that Brandon cut, and you can see it's paid off. Now we actually have some green grass getting going. Part of it is also the timing of when Brandon came over. So I know, yes, obviously everything was full and wet when he came over here, but just because the dirt bathtubs were empty doesn't mean that they didn't fill up. It only takes 45 minutes, especially when it's this dry, to go from completely full to all the water's gone. It's not gone, it's in the dirt, but visibly gone. It's looking better over here. Christmas tree cholla with the creosote. Volunteers growing in the side there. New growth popping up right here. See that green? See some green in the dirt bathtub, so. Gonna take more than 3 inches of rain, but hopefully this is the start. There's a little volunteer in there. That guy's getting going. That's established. You got that little ocotillo popping up there. Now what I want to show you is footage that I shot this morning. Also same tour style. I'm going to try to mix in rain footage with the terraces and the dams. There's a lot less footage over here, so I'm going to show you what I have as we do that tour. What I'm super excited about is these mega structures, which require a lot more effort and precision. No major damage at all, even with that heavy rain. Let's start up here on SW3, which is a terrace I haven't actually worked on yet. And when I say worked on, I mean that I haven't finished with the soil amendments, we haven't mulched anything, and we haven't planted any seeds. But we're done with the bulldozer. This has 10 cubic yards of horse manure. It used to be piled up right here in the middle. Brandon took the bulldozer and got that nice and spread out for me. And then this will be a future expansion area. You can definitely see where water pooled here. Water ran right there. But this one's not done. This is going to be a while before we get to this. And then the same terrace wraps around to what you can see on the drone. And I'm at the top of the hill here. But as I turn from the road onto the terrace here, if I was going to see flowing water, I would have expected it either here, right where we irrigate. This is where I usually park the 4300 with water on it, or we offload it onto these totes. It's kind of this is our irrigation setup. So you can see, because the slope is like this, there's water collected all on this interior space here. And the reason I know that is I can see the deposits. So you can see where the water settled and it pooled all along this terrace. This was originally a 23%, yes, I think it's a 23% or 26% grade. And that's now, instead of having all the water just sheet, because I'm looking to the north, instead of having the water sheet from here and just fly down this hillside, all this water got to stay in this one spot. And then down this spillway that I quote unquote won't ever need. And then you can see it flowed right onto the second terrace. Now, the problem is that I was learning as I built these, which is the reason I haven't gone full bore, that and the dozer up time. And so what I think happened is most of this water just spilled right off, because this is also the spillway for the second terrace. And just looking at the pattern in the dirt, I can see that's what happened. It flowed here, and you can, I hope, see the line on camera, and then the water exited right there, right into that channel, and probably just below the check dam that I see right there. Now this is SW2, and I'm on the north side of it. And this one is one that we had just planted and we had to replant. So I tried covering everything with plastic as an experiment to see if it would help with the moisture retention, which it absolutely did. And we covered that greenhouse plastic with this ECB, which is the brown stuff rolled up that you see also in the middle there. But even being double layered, it still baked absolutely everything. So I assume that we lost those seeds and we're replanting. This is the Vitex that Suburban Biology helped me transplant. It is by far the thing that's doing the best. Don't actually know what that is. Let's see if we can ID this. Siberian elm. Huh, I thought I only had one of these, but I'm glad to see this one leafing out as well. There's some Siberian elm growing near the post office in Sierra Blanca that are huge and doing really well. So if I can get these established, they're likely to perform. And this Vitex is intended to be a pioneer. Clearly it's thriving. Oh, but I am gonna have to come back, and we don't need you going to seed. This is supposed to be a mulch factory. And I mentioned replanting. Brandon ran out of seeds for the Pioneer mix, so there are a couple of spaces that are exposed. This is because this section isn't done. That is sweet acacia, and that one looks like it made it past. I'm surprised it's growing being so far from the water, but I'll take it. This is what we've done is to improve the water retention, is just tons and tons and tons and tons of mulch on top. It has to be a balance though, because you can smother the seeds. They do need sunlight. So we made these as deep as we think we possibly can, but broken up enough that seeds can grow through it, and that, well, I don't know about that, man. This is not okay. Like, nothing's gonna grow through that. We gotta loosen this up a lot. Here you can see the sorghum is my best pioneer. As long as it's giving water, then that's a little bit of shade for stuff to grow underneath. I think we're gonna just go crazy with sorghum on these extra spots just to get something started, because it's by far the most reliable. Okay, and then as I'm walking this way, we have fewer and fewer germinations. But I can't really see much because I have everything covered. This got blown up, and the rocks weren't heavy enough. Making sure that this doesn't get any worse. Yeah, I mean, what I can say with total confidence, looks like we didn't lose any water off this terrace other than a tiny little bit that went out the spillway, which is where it's supposed to go. As I come down to this SW3, this is the very first terrace I worked on. It's now just after its first year of being planted. I planted this in May of 2024 during a horrendous drought, which we're still in, although nearly 3 inches of rain, 71 millimeters, which is 2.82 inches. That will, that'll help. It's not enough to break a drought, but boy, am I happy for it. There unfortunately isn't too much to show you in terms of the footage for the terrace, but Brandon did get about 30 seconds just walking along. I want to show that to you real quick before we start this tour of SW3. I hope y'all are enjoying the rain episode. I have even more footage available on Team Dustups. I've included what I can that fits in the storyline in this episode, but if you'd like to see 22 minutes of flooding and rainfall and BDAs and a little thing at camp that I'm really excited about, you can find that on Team Dustups. Just click the link in the description or scan the QR code that you see on the screen. Yeah, let's turn this off. Head on under. I don't have my knife. We did this as an experiment trying to transplant these desert willow. That feels like it. I barely have a thumbnail, and I can feel my thumbnail biting in there. So even though this looks horrendous, it might be doing okay. But the ideal part about the water coming here is that's my grounding rod, and about 2 feet down, 3 feet down, we have hydrogel, which means that the current flowing through this fence ought to be a lot more stable. Dryness, which really should not be a surprise out here in the desert, is a huge issue, and you need a good ground to make a hot wire work. So with the hydrogel holding the water and being buried deep enough and getting recharged from a rain event, hopefully that's enough to make sure the fence gives anything that wants to come in here a good zap. Because we've had a lot of herbivory as an ongoing problem, and you can see that with this gigantic, beautiful cactus pad right there, which something took just a monster wallop out of it. Originally, we thought it was javelina, but Brandon and Daniel have spent time hunting up here trying to see what was the culprit, and lots of rabbits, cottontails and jackrabbits. So I am excited that these all died in the winter. These are Palo Verde. They're Parkinsonia aculeata, which I later realized is not the right Parkinsonia for my area. I now have Parkinsonia Florida that I'm growing on the other ones. So these will continue to die back every winter, but the roots survived. And this survived a 16-degree low for the winter, which is good that I didn't lose everything, because Palo Verde is by far my best pioneer. But even with rabbits eating every possible cactus pad, there's enough water and moisture hanging out here that everything's really thriving. And I love the color of this sorghum. It's just so green. I think it's a little early. It's only been a week since it rained, so it is possible that more of the Palo Verde is going to germinate, which I replanted with seed balls last fall. And there hasn't been enough water to really get them to germinate, so hopefully we'll see something coming up relatively soon. That rattle bush is by far the most successful thing I've done. So pretty. Nice dappled shade. But everything else, the agave that I'm excited to grow is really starting to come together. These were barely hanging on right here, but as we've been pruning them and mulching them better, and then every once in a while, just trying to get the roots closer and closer to water, they've now really settled in. So now let's go behind the dam. You can see from above, the front part performed really well. Start over here. You can see we had some water flowing here. This is both a spillway for the dam and a water bar for this road, where we want whatever water flows over here to come hit this spillway, or to flow this way down the road and come on down and avoid the actual dam wall. You can see the water flow down here, avoided washing out the dam wall, down there, and into the wash where the beaver dam analogs start. But this episode's going to be pretty long, so I will do a tour with Brandon because he completely owned that project, so I want him to be here. We'll do that in next week's episode. But for now, what I want to do is show you the big dam and how it performed and how much water it had.
After the deluge, I'm looking at the south dam, and water didn't run across it at all. It went where we wanted it to go and didn't come down the dam. This is where I spread manure south of the south dam.
Brandon mentioned seeing a little damage over here, and it looks like it's not actually coming from the road. I don't see on the drone any water damage on the front of the dam. And we spread this manure just in time so that that now got a good soak and hopefully got carried a little deeper. This will be a future planting area, because why not? But here's what's happening is the water's flowing from this hillside and sheeting down this way. We're eventually going to address that by putting terraces over here, but what happened is this water formed its own drain and channel down this way and left the dam over there in the middle. Very, very, very minor damage. What we need to do is just dig a small water bar right here so that the water just flows here, and then it can nick away at the edge of the dam here. We can even use these little rocks to make little check dams, feed that cat claw acacia, help it get bigger and taller, and whatever erosion might happen from the dam is really not that bad, because this was a maximal rain event. It doesn't get more intense than that. And the thing that was disappointing, sort of, is the size of the dam. I intentionally said it over and over again. I would rather overbuild than underbuild. The first version of this dam would have been way big enough, but I didn't want to have any doubt in my mind. So we spent like a week making this gigantic. And you can see from the amount of water in here, it's overkill, which is fine. I would rather do too much than too little. It's hard to tell in the footage how far back the water went. Maybe we can pause the screen here and just show you the water lining the check dams and not really much more. What I'm seeing from this is that the terraces did their jobs. They collected all that water, let it soaked in, and then we literally deprived half of this potential catchment area from flowing into the dam, which is a good thing because the water's now deeply in the ground where it can be available for plants to get it. The goal for these dams is not to have a lake or a reservoir. This is really for access, and then we want whatever water falls on the range to soak. I will be very curious to see if all these plants that I pruned with David from Germany, who was out here for a couple of weeks, if this is going to do any good or if these things are just dead from the drought. I do see signs of life coming from roots. This is almost certainly cat claw acacia. Yeah, that acacia is absolutely happy with that extra protection from the dam wall. It's just, it shades the afternoon sun, and of course it brings it more water, so that tree ought to start climbing over time. But let's walk through these check dams and see how they performed, and we'll head up to the other dam. But you can see all this debris right here. Let me come on the other side. So I'm now standing uphill, and you can see that piece of cardboard washed in here, fully saturated. There's some dead grass that got pulled in. You see all that organic matter that the water just did the work for me, caught all that stuff, and of course, because this water was pooled here, it soaked. And I know it soaked because I can see all the dirt, all the sediment that it deposited. And what I think happened is the water probably backed up to somewhere right about there. This is where I think the big dam pooled everything. And then these little check dams just caught whatever sediment was in here and whatever organic material was in here. Because again, on this one, see like all these little branches and detritus, that's all collecting organic matter to help this area grow and thrive. But man, the drought has killed absolutely everything. Like, this is so dead. Hopefully within a month we'll see what's surviving and thriving. Unfortunately, this check dam missed a lot of it. The water flowed right up along this hillside, collected down here, and then washed on the splash pad of this check dam. But the next one caught it, and then the big dam definitely caught it. Hey, signs of life. This is Desert Olive. I'm so excited to see this guy coming back. They finally have green, and these check dams are playing a huge part of it. I can't make it rain more in the desert, but what I can do is make sure that whatever rain falls, that I keep it around. Like, This little volunteer here would completely not be here were it not for the check dam. Couple volunteers, look. This guy's growing, this guy's growing, this. You can see some seeds here, and here, and here. This is wonderful. All right, let's come check out the North Dam. And you can see we did the same thing on this dam, where it's massively overbuilt. And this has about 8 yards of manure just in this little area. Doing really well. And again, you can see this had a little water. Managed to soak it up. I think whatever water came down into the check dams was coming from uphill, not in this area. Whatever landed here from the road up there or off the dam wall, it looks like it just pooled here and held it, which is great. Something's gonna grow here, especially with this extra organic material. Okay, now this is probably the most exciting footage because it's the most water in a single spot. Let me stand where Brandon was standing so you have some context, and roll footage. So the water backed up to where that desert olive is, which is where my finger is pointing on the screen, I believe. And I want to see how that effort paid off, because everybody that watches this channel knows I've tried a million different things between the syntropic agroforestry, check dams, big dams, beaver dam analogs, dirt bathtubs. But Brady from Wichita Falls brought out a bunch of hackberry, which is adding organic matter here. I could have done a little better job organizing it had I known better. But we got to come back and prune these volunteers from the bottom. I want this stuff, and I don't want any of these. I'm gonna come by and we'll get these seed pods off. I want this tree to focus on growing up, not growing seeds. Hey, look. We got little stuff growing in this deposit here. I can see plants everywhere, which is great. I'm really excited for that guy. That's cat claw acacia, because he's at the bottom, and that was here before I built the dam. We just happened to build it just piled right up to this side when it started thriving, probably from the extra shade from the afternoon sun. So now that this thing's really getting going, we just got to focus on getting it to grow up so it can share the love and spread the shade. But look, there's volunteers all through here already. This is just a week later, so this will just get better and better. But we got these little guys growing. That's new. The rain episode doesn't have to end here, because I do have 21 or 22 minutes of raw footage, stuff that didn't make sense to put in because it's not entirely on the ranch. I have flooding in the canyons, and then the BDAs, and I have a really cool surprise near camp that I'm excited to show you. It's gonna change my work plan for the next couple of months. So if you wanna see that early, go join Team Dustups. The link's in the description, or you can scan the QR code. If not, make sure you check out next week, because I'm gonna adapt the master plan based on what I saw with the rainfall. There's a really good reason for me to start working near camp. Look out for that next week. And if you want the footage right now, you can join Team Dustups.